Today we're talking about forced drugging. Forced drugging is a practice that takes place in the field of psychiatry, wherein a patient is forced to take a drug against his or her will. We think this is a crime. The reason we think it's a crime is because it violates the fundamental trust that should exist between a doctor and the doctor's patient. Historically, patients go to doctors of their own free will and seek help. Doctors provide treatment that they explain to the patient and the patient agrees to. If the patient disagrees, the patient is free to walk away. That's not true in psychiatry. Because psychiatry involves behavior of individuals that can be problematical for themselves and other people, an exception has been made in the field of psychiatry, wherein the patient may not have control anymore. The doctor may overrule the patient and call in the authority of the state to force the patient to take drugs. Drugs became the first line of treatment in psychiatric problems in the mid-20th century when, by accident, some drugs were discovered that could penetrate the blood-brain barrier and affect the neurotransmitters in the brain. Once this discovery was made, the drug companies began to design drugs that could penetrate the blood-brain barrier, and a whole array of drugs, dozens if not hundreds of them now, have been invented that can affect the neurotransmitter reactions in the brain. We think these drugs and the forcible application of them are the act of a police state, not the act of medicine. Once a patient loses control over the treatment that they receive, the practice of medicine has gone out the window. A patient has a right to determine their own treatment. Psychiatry justifies forcibly drugging people with the notion that because these people are psychotic, their brain function has been impaired and they no longer know what's good for them. Well, I think it's very obvious that the psychiatrists don't know what's good for them either, because the drugs that they are providing have proven long-term ill effects on the patient and thus are a violation of the doctor's own Hippocratic oath, which states that they should do no harm. So the practice of forcing a patient to take drugs is not only a violation of the relationship between the patient and the parent and the doctor, it's also a violation of the doctor's own Hippocratic oath. In fact, the United Nations and the U.S. government have stated that forcibly drugging somebody is an act of torture. Therefore, forcibly drugging someone is a crime, forcibly drugging somebody is torture, and should be stopped immediately. These practices and the laws and regulations that enable them to occur should be halted immediately. We say at FEPTOPP, stop forced drugging now. Forced drugging is a crime. Forced drugging is torture.